Hey friends, Ruby here. I'm making this video today because I've come to terms with an unfortunate truth about this channel. I may leave the channel, as I've demonstrated with my upload schedule, but the channel will never leave me. In isolation, this may sound like a corny way of saying how much I love you guys and valued my time making videos. The harsh reality I cannot escape, my most vividly burning memory of this channel, is of the trauma resulting from that one vaguely detailed video I made addressing the rampant transphobic hate speech in the Critical Strike community. I have many things I could say about that video. Like, the reason I did not include screenshots was because I didn't feel right exposing otherwise friendly, active developers and good-intentioned yet meek moderators. Really, I don't think critiquing that video will solve my bigger problems though. Right now, I can't finish scripted videos anymore. All my YouTube projects have been doomed to fall apart in editing. Every time I trust my instincts for video creation, I eventually find myself overwhelmed with panic over how this project is going to lead me to receiving a lot of aggressively negative comments, personal attacks, and generally lead to a lot of suffering. I feel afraid to express my opinions and especially any queer aspects of my identity because of the fact that most of the top voted comments on that video I made were personal attacks on my identity and my voice. Making videos on YouTube was a big part of how I found my identity as a person. I feel like the most fitting metaphor is that before making videos, I felt like I'd died in Dark Souls and become hollow, and beginning to express myself through my YouTube videos was like lighting a bonfire and restoring my humanity. I don't even care about Dark Souls very much, but the metaphor with the bonfires, hollowness, and humanity is something that's always resonated with me. More to the point, not being able to make expressive videos anymore feels like a harsh limit on my personal development. I've been conditioned to stop seeking bonfires to light. It's been about 20 months since the day I published that now deleted video. I spent the past couple of years trying to come to terms with it and move on. I want to use this video you're watching right now to take a step towards expressing myself in scripted video form again. I want to desensitize myself to both hearing my own voice in the editing process and just uploading something that has these vulnerable, intimate emotions sublimated into script form. Before I talk about my hobbies or whatever will make up the meat and potatoes of this video, I need to make it clear how much self-expression went into the creative process for my Critical Strike videos. I'll bring up 3 examples. Villain is one of the earlier videos on this channel. It's the type of video that would inspire the creator of Critical Strike beginner guide videos, shotis, to comment, "Did you give up editing at the end?" To which I simply responded, "Egg." To put this short response into context, allow me to read the description of the video, written at the time of uploading. My thirst never quenches. Where my hunger should be, there is only abstract feeling. Endless images detach me from vivid, scorching despair. At center, red, pink, yellow, green, and blue paint splashes match evenly with the white canvas. Watercolor tongue, acrylic brain noodle. You've grown. A year and a half of dedicated training. You've got 2,500 sniper wins under your belt. You can't turn off your skill switch. But at what cost? Like a vampire, you heal your wounds at the expense of the world. You gorge on the weak and the mediocre. Number go up, skill go up. Practice, love, care, focus, meaning. A feeling that you're alive. But at what cost? Okay, what the heck is going on here? Well, the plot of the video starts with a newbie Critical Strike player asking for 1 win in chat, to which the server generally agrees to help. From there, player Conjured Love complains about a greedy sniper, myself, ruining their fun by spamming. Which, for those who don't know, is what bad players say when they lose and must cope by framing the opponent as bad too. The sniper, revealed to be me recording the video, is on a 13 win streak and shows no signs of stopping. The server wants to help a poor newbie player get a win, and yet I have no intention of stopping my streak. A tightly edited montage shows me cleaning house until final strike. The montage cuts stop, showing that it's just me and the player who wants a win remaining. While I was playing, I was keenly aware that I had the power to give this player the win they asked for, and they could not get it without my help. The skill difference was simply too great. This segment's lack of editing painstakingly depicts the process of trying to snipe some phantom unpredictably running around at 10 HP. The phantom finally gets caught by a ricochet bullet, at which point the music changes and the video stutters heavily, cutting to the main narrative focus. The shocking removal of any editing whatsoever, aside from 3 or 4 instances of cutting to different footage. There is no zooming in on gameplay or chat, and the matches are generally played out in full. The music has changed to a more pensive yet upbeat song, Soul, from the obscure X68000 game Magical Shot, which I felt was fitting to the narrative I wanted to convey to the viewer. To vaguely describe the gameplay events of the rest of the video, I play Sniper fairly well against some players who want to team on me, jump around practicing headshots in the training room for a little bit, uneventfully snipe on the roofs of Dragon Street for 40 seconds, fight Final Strike against a hacking Reaper and then a Priest and almost win, and then lose to a Jester, who proceeds to reset. Then I go to the training room and snipe things for a bit, and the video ends. Okay, what was the point of all of that? Well, I feel I have to present the video this way because there's a chance that many viewers never looked at the top left corner of the screen to see the in-game chat. You see, normally if I want to show the viewer something happening in the chat, I will zoom and center the footage onto the chat so the viewer can understand what I'm trying to convey. An extreme example of this is seen at the very beginning of this video, where I cropped out all irrelevant chat messages and revealed each message one by one. Why did I stop doing these edits then? Well, self-expression, as I said, although I will soon elaborate. You see, for a long time I viewed this video as the one that most effectively captured the emotions I felt during its creation. I couldn't casually watch the finished video for a while, because the impact it had on me was so strong. I've been holding on to these feelings in solitude ever since I made that video. It's lonely, creating something viewed by thousands, yet seemingly having it understood by none. Today I want to help you understand my feelings too. The video's post-edits section was meant to convey the depersonalization and derealization I was experiencing while playing. The toxicity and abuse I was constantly facing in chat from the player Conjured Love and their friend RarXD triggered something that caused this feeling. To put it into simple terms, I suddenly felt disconnected from my game character, from my own actions, and from my body. Even writing this script now, I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience, and questioning why I'm even writing this. What the hell am I even doing? This is why I can't watch this video casually. I can barely tell what's going on right now, and I feel a remarkable sense of loss of control over my actions. My arms feel weak and heavy, and I can feel the sting of my eyes that has been quietly sitting unnoticed since the nap I woke up from 4 hours ago. My body temperature rose, and I feel an itchiness on my collarbone. I've had an odd experience most of the times I engage with Critical Strike. For example, I open a browser and check this YouTube channel, or maybe just go to open the game. When I do this, within seconds my body feels cold and I need to put on a jacket. Even during the summer I will experience this. Earlier in writing about my feelings, I had to suddenly take off my jacket because it felt way too hot. All of those thoughts may seem random, but I can't do any better at conveying the meaning of this video to me. You will have to rewatch Villain yourself and try to piece together what I can't share with you right now. The purpose of this essay I'm writing for you right now is to poke around in the dark of my psyche, and hopefully do something that will allow me to overcome this psychological block between me and video creation. That said, there are still 2 more videos I promised to cover. On its face, life flashes before Musketeer eyes makes its artful expression of emotion more obvious and cohesive. In a way, you could see this as a spiritual successor to Villain. Honestly, I feel the video speaks for itself. Critical Strike videos don't exactly get a lot of comments, but this video has a few dozen to choose from. I will just read the first 5 I find. From King Nothing. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen a Musketeer win a match. Thank you. My life is complete. This comment might seem like baseless praise of what many today see as a meta class, but apparently a few veteran players credit me with popularized Musketeer or something similarly prestigious sounding. I really didn't have to do much to earn that pompous title. That is to say, people generally didn't understand the power of the class, to the point where the shock at Musketeer's proficiency is the comment with the most likes. Furthermore, this is old Musketeer, where the musket racks were stationary instead of being anchored to the player. We didn't have tech like the so-called Silver Bullet for 48 damage, which I did not name by the way. I don't know why people think I named that. Stacked with LMB and E for a 73 damage one-shot technique in effectively one projectile, which I hereby officially name Judgment Shot for reasons I currently refuse to specify. Back with Old Musket, we just had to settle for doing that same exact thing with a bit less flexibility and a slightly longer projectile, as the Musketeer stands in the middle of half of a musket rack and must aim in accordance with its placement. Anyways, on to the next comment. From Neochromatic, I feel terrified and enlightened. Thank you for showing us Musket's true power. Yet again the same sentiment. Next. From Coif Epicness. Oh no, they're becoming good at Musketeer. Okay, I really didn't remember the comments being stacked like this. Number 4 from Shotis, again. Accidentally watched this in 480p, and I think that made the experience better. I really liked this comment, so I responded in turn. You're actually onto something. The bit with Musket walking around the spectator arena at the start, I rendered that at a low bitrate and at 24 frames per second. I also think I rendered the backwards flashback towards the end at 24 frames per second. If there's any video to watch in 480p, this is probably the one. I'm not interested in justifying my esoteric filmmaking choices, so we're going to go to the final of our 5 chosen comments. From Rex Critical. Thanks for the memories. We had a good run, didn't we? Of course, all good things must come to an end. Sorry for being such a coward. I really wish we could change that. See you in the next life, my old friend. Disintegrates. That's the kind of comment I was looking for. For a bonus comment, Ingrid says, every single video you upload is like psychedelic, I love it. I liked this comment a lot. You know, I spent more of this section talking about Musketeer than about the self-expression in our subject video. I was really going through it when I made this video. In short, I was in a romantic relationship with somebody I really cared about and was fascinated with. Eventually they got busy with life and stopped giving me the time of day. There was no, I'm breaking up with you, or I've lost interest in you from them. What I got was, I'm too busy to spend more time with you, juxtaposed with me seeing them joining group Discord calls with random people and spending lots of time there. It really felt like a punch in the gut. A couple months prior to this breakup, I wasn't even using Discord. I didn't feel comfortable talking to people for a long time, online or in person. This is pretty extreme behavior, so I'm going to briefly talk about some pretty personal stuff so you can get the picture. I'm currently 23 years old. When I was 17 and finishing up high school, I became absorbed by a severe depression or something similar that didn't present itself very clearly. It also might have been a neurological disorder like cataplexy or narcolepsy. I'm not affected today, so I can't look into it so easily anymore. All I know is that it was triggered by severe stress that my emotionally numb mind couldn't realize I was experiencing at the time. I thought I was mentally fine, and that there was some sort of physical ailment making me extremely tired all the time. I did just fine in school up until that point, but I couldn't attend classes very much anymore. My dad was concerned about my ability to get my high school diploma, so he started taking me to a lot of doctors. My primary care doctor couldn't really make heads or tails of the situation. What I vaguely remember of that time was 9 months of Sisyphean doctor's visits to this guy and the next guy. I'd sleep for 15 hours a day. I'd usually just lie in bed staring at the ceiling or embracing the comfort of the bedding. Sometimes I'd watch videos on my phone, and occasionally I might even play a game on my computer. But I felt that I had bigger problems to solve than being bored right now, so I left those alone. More specifically, I was afraid my dad would make a fuss about me spending time entertaining myself when I'm not even attending school and my grades are slipping. So I just would lie in bed for a very long time, every single day, for about a year. I'd get out of bed when my dad demanded my help, but I presented more like a zombie than a human. I'd often get sent back early and just lie in bed. It's all I could do to pass the time. I did a decent job trudging through my first semester. I'd even gotten a perfect score on my French midterm exam, which is something I was a bit smug about at the time, considering my absences. The second semester, I missed more classes than I attended, and I failed all of them. I did not complete that year. I desperately needed help if I was going to have any hope of getting a diploma. However, my dad didn't expect to have to raise this kid for longer than 18 years. He needed to start focus on building a retirement fund. So one day when I came down for dinner, he told me that I needed to pack my stuff, because he figured my mom would take me. So I did. On June 23rd, 2019, I moved in with her. I was completely shut in my bedroom and avoided all conversation as much as I could. My mom, who had left my dad's abusive household when I was too young to remember, was understanding and gave me the space I needed. My older sister, who I grew up with, was living there at the time. In my childhood, my sister didn't even treat me as a human being. I wanted to spend time with her and talk to her, and she would always respond by either yelling at me or violently attacking me. I was just a little kid, so I just took it. My dad and his new girlfriend acted similarly in the few years after my mom left. These childhood experiences taught me to avoid having a presence and mind my own business. Furthermore, it taught me to play a lot of video games and do it quietly. I played a lot of video games since I could remember. One of my earliest childhood memories is crawling around, searching for my pacifier on the ground while the small TV screen I was playing on sat on the character select for some sort of game. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I think, that my dad had presumably rented, as I never saw the game again. My dad showed up and found the pacifier in the corner behind the kitchen door. This memory brings me warm, sad, and loving, happy feelings. I really treasure it. Another memory is of a game I did manage to find a couple years ago, The Adventures of Cookie and Cream, which incidentally was made by From Software, creators of Dark Souls. I was playing it with one of my older relatives, a half-sister from my dad's previous marriage, I think. I liked the bright colors and cute characters, but this was a rental too, so I never saw it again. As my dad later told me, he bought a PlayStation 2 for me to play because it's a whole lot cheaper than hiring a babysitter. I never had to worry about starving as a child, but we did not have money for something as frivolous as babysitting. My dad was heavily in debt from refusing to pay alimony or child support to his previous wife, and subsequently being fined a lot of money by the court. A good while before I was born, a layoff from his IT job at General Motors led him to having a bit of an identity crisis, abandoning his children to spend a year or so living in Las Vegas with my mother. Eventually, when my mom couldn't take Vegas anymore, they moved back to normal living and had my older sister and myself. My dad started his own business doing some blue-collar labor, and he made his living during my childhood being resourceful with finding work and getting it done. I've gone into a lot of detail in my parents' situation because you have to understand that people who commit domestic abuse are normal people trying their best, just like you and I, who have often been through rough circumstances that have left them mentally unstable and desensitized to things like empathy. The world out there is rough, and a lot of people don't have a healthy outlet for those difficult emotions. So they get so pent up that they snap and take it out on the people around them. A lot of other times it's triggers of psychological trauma that result in abusive behaviors. These claims are based on my personal experiences and understanding, so take them with a grain of salt. My childhood left me with plenty of psychological trauma that I wasn't allowed to call trauma. I knew such a heavy term would get me ridiculed by my abusers, a frequent occurrence I had learned to avoid. I never used that word to describe my experiences until my adulthood, when I had the privacy to think clearly and form my own opinions. My dad would do things like dictating when I would get my hair cut and how long it would be, and would often authoritatively police my expression of opinions on things he knew nothing about. More often, he would laugh at me whenever I talked about my feelings. He had this quirk where he'd make jokes and laugh all the time. He never took me seriously until I ended up in a mental hospital at age 16. I'm 23 now. The last time I talked to him on the phone, I said a lot of harsh things to him. I took responsibility for my actions and apologized afterwards for my abusive language and told him he didn't deserve it. Apologizing is something he has never done for his own abuses of me. He didn't respond. I've completely abandoned the point of this video. I'm not able to clearly define what made me so reclusive. When I try to recall, I keep getting immersed in these vivid memories I've described here. We're getting so granular that I can't get to the point, and I can't just revise this script because this series of recollections that completely arrest my attention is never ending. I want to create something expressive, and this is my natural way of expressing myself right now. Is that so bad? Moving in with my mom was the best thing to ever happen to me. It took a few years for me to be able to talk to her casually, and now I'm a lot happier and have taken on more responsibilities. During my severely depressive seclusion, I spent a lot of time resting and sleeping, and for some of my time out of bed, watched a lot of YouTube videos at my terrible makeshift desk. Eventually I found out about some big weekly Minecraft event, Minecraft Monday, wherein a bunch of big names of various skill levels would stream some various Minecraft gameplay competitions for a few hours. Here I found Technoblade, a creator who changed the course of my life. From grades 5 through 12, I had lived in a certain area, and aside from 5th grade, had been associated with a certain friend group. This friend group had conditioned me to fear PvP games. The group's game of choice was Smite, a MOBA that's basically League of Legends but third person with zooming, rotating camera controls. I did not like Smite. I did not find the game fun. However, my friends liked Smite. I wanted to have friends because I was lonely. This group of friends spent the entirety of middle school collectively harassing me and making fun of me. My home life was worse than ever. My dad married a new lady, who incidentally had the exact same first, middle, and now last name as my actual mother. She was very grumpy, brought a general air of misery to the house, and would generally scream threats of violence at the top of her lungs at the children of the house. I was the youngest. I did everything I could to stay out of the way. I would go to school, and this group of people would constantly insult and make fun of me until I would act out and yell at them, which only seemed to fuel their enjoyment even more. I was absolutely miserable. If I had to relive that treatment every day for several years straight again, I don't think I'd last very long. Anyways, Smite became deeply associated with these deeply miserable experiences I was having. Furthermore, all PvP games became deeply associated with the insults I received for not being very good at Smite. I didn't even like the game. I don't like MOBAs. I just needed to do something that would give me some sort of relief from this hell era of my childhood. And sometimes I'd perform well enough to have fun. Maybe every few months I'd get a compliment from one of my friends about my performance in-game, and that was the only praise I received from anybody during those years. Technoblade. This section is about Technoblade. He showed me that PvP games can be silly fun. I watched his Skywars and Bed Wars videos. He always had a jovial attitude about him. He wasn't sweet or nice with his words. Hell, he'd often call his opponents bad, but the way in which he said it was so light and in the spirit of fun. His insults felt like getting hit in a pillow fight. It was kind of nice. Actually, it was really nice. I was absolutely addicted to his videos. I watched a good amount of them. I'd watch all of his Minecraft Monday streams, either as VODs, highlights, or live if I could catch them. I have a vivid memory from my 19th birthday. It was spring of 2020, and the world wasn't entirely shut down from the pandemic yet. My dad took me and his new wife, who is a very kind person, thankfully they're still together, and my new stepbrother to Buffalo Wild Wings per my request. I got some sort of flavor of boneless wings, I don't remember, with ranch dipping sauce on the side. We were sitting at a round table for 4, and my dad's wife was sitting to my left. The food arrived, and my new stepmom was convinced that her blue cheese got swapped for my ranch. You see, I absolutely hate blue cheese. I can't stand the taste or the smell. So I dipped a wing into the mystery sauce, didn't taste anything amiss, and concluded that indeed this is ranch. She looked at me with a suspicious glance and said, "Well, if you say so." I ate some of the wings, but didn't have much of an appetite, so I took most of them home. That night, I was at home, watching a Minecraft Monday VOD. I got hungry, and decided to have the rest of the wings. I spread them onto a plate, microwaved them, and then put my ranch onto the plate and brought it to my desk. I impaled a boneless wing with my fork, and dipped it into the ranch. I brought it to my mouth, and ate the whole wing. As I chewed, the revolting flavor of blue cheese overwhelmed my sinuses. I didn't know what to think. I ate the wing, and then went back to the kitchen, throwing out the blue cheese cup and getting some proper ranch from the fridge. The ranch just didn't taste like Buffalo Wild Wings ranch, though. It was a disappointing meal, but it taught me the shocking truth that earlier that day, my senses were so numbed by depression and overstimulation that despite what I thought, I couldn't even taste the food I was eating. Anyways, I just kept watching Minecraft Monday after that. A couple months later, it's June of 2020, and I had been searching for a game to make my own for almost a year at that point. You see, I wanted to be good at a game. I was coming off an addiction to a rhythm game I will not specify, which I had to quit for the few reasons of several repetitive stress injuries in the hand and wrist from the game, the intense need to perform at a certain level I could no longer achieve, as well as the intense need to distance myself from absolutely everything from the first 18 years of my life. I needed to master a game because I needed to understand myself. I had a lot of feelings that needed exploration and resolution. I wasn't going to resolve this stress-induced disability of mine unless I explore and overcome myself. In 2019, I tried free Steam games. I briefly played Minion Masters, which was fun for like 3 days, until I realized I didn't care about the gameplay. You know, I don't remember half the stuff I tried during that era. I just remember getting along with my sister fairly well for a few months. I did what I could to support her, and told her it was important to me that if she had any issues, she speak up about them, and I'd listen. Later, in early September of 2019, I got into a nasty conflict with my sister, in which she rubber-banded back into her habit of dehumanizing and degrading me. She suddenly had a lot of issues with me, and wanted to micromanage and control every aspect of my life. Despite her bedroom being a mere 90-degree turn from my own bedroom door, my sister refused to even speak to me in person. This entire conflict happened over a few days via text, using my mother as a proxy. My mom got absolutely fed up with this abuse, and my sister, feeling betrayed by my mother disagreeing with her for seemingly the first time in her life, moved out of the house and into her boyfriend's place. Since then, my sister made a stuffed octopus for me out of soft yarn, and uses the central room of our house to store her unsightly heap of belongings she was going to come get soon, over 3 years ago. She also let me take what I liked of the clothes she was going to donate to a thrift store. Besides these odd few things over the past 5 years, I haven't really reconciled or communicated with her. Anyways, after my sister left, I felt free. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel constant pressure to act a certain way. and I was not constantly surrounded by people who would trigger the trauma response of deleting my own will and putting on a facade. It was like I could safely express myself for the first time in my life. My mom is really nice and caring. I love her very much. Nowadays, the nature of our relationship is that I help her do basic tasks like taking a shower, and I'll handle any housework that's too physical for her. You see, she has a disease called primary progressive multiple sclerosis, or PPMS, which to my understanding basically results in her immune system attacking her nervous system, resulting in degrading control of her muscles. At the time of her diagnosis, the first medication to ever be available to treat this disease was exiting trials and about to hit the market, something called ocrevus. This functions to suppress her immune system, thus slowing the decay of her nervous system via a twice-yearly infusion into the bloodstream. Despite this treatment, she will never be able to walk again. She's taking it pretty well, all things considered. I visit with her every day and see her every hour or so when I fill my glass of water, of which I drink lots, and she's always really happy to see me. I do what I can to make her laugh, and she does the same for me. This is how things are between us in 2024. Anyways, back in 2019, I didn't feel human, but now I could think clearly for the first time ever. This is when the transgender thoughts started to bubble up like soda. In the back of my mind for my whole childhood, I had an interest in girly things, idealized femininity even, but I learned to stop expressing these interests, as my sister despised the idea that my tarnished hands might touch her pristine toys. I was so afraid to do something wrong at all times that I had no room to think these things. With her and everyone else from my worst childhood memories now out of the picture, the playing field had changed to something I've never seen or felt before. My footsies with gender started out shy and awkward. I knew I liked having some anime girl profile image. At first it was because I liked the character, I'd say to myself. Eventually it was because I liked having cuteness and femininity associated with me. I realized I wanted people to view me with the endearing affection I often saw these cute anime characters receiving. I wanted to be cute and happy and accepted. So that began my foray into online games on my own. Minion Masters, as I mentioned earlier, that was the first game I played on my new Steam account I made specifically to get a fresh start. This was to be my girl account, just to experiment. When making the account, which I did to get my mind off of the recent conflict with my sister, I wasn't sure what to put for my account name. I was thinking I wanted Nya, because cat girls are cute, and I wanted to embody that feminine cuteness. However, I needed a longer username. What about Nyarubi? Oh, that's cute. I might go with that. And it's taken basically everywhere. But maybe I want something cute and cool at the same time. Maybe Rubico instead of Ruby. Where did I pick up Rubico from again? Like a gun in Call of Duty or something? Okay, nyarubico then. As an aside, I know a few of you are really curious about where my username came from, so feel free to leave an excited remark in the comments. Moving on. So, in order to start fresh with my online presence, I made new accounts for everything. I played games on my new Steam account and watched videos on my new YouTube account. Eventually, on January 4th of 2020, I decided I was going to make a Roblox account. There was a time in my childhood, during a few of the better years, where I was very into Roblox. However, my dad forbid me from playing it on the family computer anymore, because he was concerned it was slowing down the machine. You guys all know how lightweight of an application Roblox is. He had no idea what he was talking about, but his word was law. Anyways, I wanted to reclaim Roblox from my childhood. Hell, I wanted so badly to reclaim my childhood in general. I had made my first Roblox account in 2010, and now a decade later, 2020 is here, and I'm coming back. The first thing I did was find a tycoon game to play. Those were so fun to my child brain. I soon learned that tycoon games aren't really a thing anymore. Nowadays, we have simulator games, which are effectively the same gameplay loop, but with a different name and slightly different form. I instead decided to play some shooter games. I played some Phantom Forces for a while. I'd listened to this anime radio live stream on YouTube while playing. I have fond memories of that time, although it felt like being in limbo. I felt unfulfilled while playing. I think I was lonely. I didn't talk to anybody at the time. Occasionally I'd get so lonely that I'd briefly visit with my childhood friends for a little bit on Discord, before disappearing for weeks or months again. After a few months of wandering from game to game, eventually I came across Beastworm Simulator. I enjoyed it a lot. I don't have much to say about it though, except that I had such appreciation for Onnet's design sensibilities that I had to check his favorite games. That's how I found Critical Strike, version 5.6.3 if I recall correctly. I mentioned Critical Strike earlier, but I'm going to talk about it properly now. Just a reminder, all this exposition is meant to inform you about what the video, Life Flashes Before Musketeer Eyes, was meant to express. If that's all you care about and didn't want to hear my life story, I'm very deeply sorry, while also not being sorry at all, because I really think context is important to understanding why this was created the way it was. Anyways, in June 2020, I played Critical Strike for the first time. I wanted to learn from the other players, improve at the game, and gain respect in the community. To put it in my past self's terms, I want to be the Technoblade of Critical Strike. This was not a hard line to be drawn, but all the same, it was a goalpost to run towards. I knew in my heart why I was doing this, because I was tired of being bad at video games. I was tired of being constantly insulted for my performance, constantly seen as a burden to those around me, and constantly seen as an object of ridicule by those who needed someone to pick on. I was mad, furious, angry, seething with a smoldering hot rage, but I was too meek to admit it. Even today, every quiet moment, my mind is arrested with novel scenarios of conflict and oppression that I must face. The trauma from my childhood has shaped every part of my mind and headspace that I have not deliberately reclaimed. There is no escape for me. It's why I wanted to give in and make this video, so I could be honest with the hurt lying beneath the toxic machinations of my psyche. I was done being mediocre. My sole objective in life was to learn Critical Strike. I felt it was important to my survival as a human being, to my self-esteem, to my identity, to overcoming this disabling lethargy and depression. I needed something to live for, someone to be, some reason to pump blood through my veins, fire impulses through my neurons, and move these gently used muscles to achieve something with this tarnished mind and body of mine. I needed something, anything, worth living for. I felt completely worthless and quietly worshipped every day I got to lie around in this air-conditioned room with privacy, alone in the dark, doing God knows what on the box of lights and clicky keys on that cobbled mess of a desk. I humbled myself and played. I observed all I could observe and listened to anyone who spoke. I became this game, and the game became me. 2 months passed. It's late July or early August. I had over 700 wins. It was time. You see, I made plenty of videos in high school. I was very interested in YTPMV or MAD style videos, among plenty of more mundane videos. I wanted to practice my editing a lot, so I could be like these people. I actually made my first video when I was in the 3rd or 4th grade in Windows Movie Maker. This was in the first 365 days of me ever touching a computer for the first time. It was a slideshow of pictures of bananas I downloaded from Google Images, switching from one banana to the other at the Windows Movie Maker default interval of 5 seconds. The background music was 303 Starstruck featuring Katy Perry. Because my dad's girlfriend had it downloaded onto the computer from iTunes. The video was so stupid. Good times. Anyways, I have spent most of my life making videos of various quality. I won't show any of them here, because I don't want to revisit any of them. I did get pretty good at editing though. Not as good as Mountain Dew or Razgold or other YTPMV legends, but I could make anything I wanted to in Vegas Pro 14. I used a pirated copy of Vegas because back then, when I started getting into editing, free options with anywhere near the power of Vegas didn't exist. Eventually, Premiere Pro became a thing and got very popular, but when I started, Vegas was just what you used. In high school, Vegas Pro was now owned by Magix Software and on sale for very cheap every December on Humble Bundle. Thanks to that, I finally had a licensed copy. The videos I made in high school never reached any sort of popularity. I put a lot of love into them, and I'd show them to my friends from school, to which they generally praised the videos. It was very gratifying. However, all the videos would get between 30 and 80 views on YouTube. I was striking cold iron all day, and I was getting nowhere. Fast forward to August 2020, and I wanted to express my newly embraced femininity to the world, and reclaim video creation from my childhood in the process. It was time to make the Nyarubico YouTube channel. For Nyarubico historians, which I believe only includes me, but humor me here, you will know there were 2 Nyarubico channels I made. The first one was doomed to deletion, and the second one you are currently watching this video on. All will be explained in due time, but the channel I made in 2020 does not exist any longer. I knew it was time to make my first video. You see, I heard a few people say that Sniper is the hardest class in the game. For reference, the game had a larger population of newer players, with concurrent player count between 300 and 900 at the time. You wouldn't hear that kind of claim much nowadays, but it was a more common opinion in the pre-Musketeer era than it is now. I decided to learn Sniper to prove to myself that I could play the hardest class in the game. I mean, people complained all the time about OP or brain-dead classes like Trickster or Jester. No, Dancer did not exist at the time. I wanted people to respect me as a player, so that meant I had to play the more respectable classes. The first Critical Strike video I made was called Sniper's Journey. It was experimental, as I had to learn how to incorporate music, cuts, text, and all that mess into the video. Hold on, didn't I say I was going to be the Technoblade of Critical Strike? Technoblade made simple commentary videos where he just talks about random topics while playing Skywars or whatever. Why am I not using my voice? Well, my friend, we get to talk about the transgender experience in more detail now. You see, trans feminine people who have gone through male puberty start out with an unusual attribute in the form of a deepened voice. You see, the testosterone released during male puberty results in many things, including increased size of the vocal cords. For reference, compare a stand-up bass to a ukulele. Which of these sounds higher pitched? Same deal with vocal cords. I'm not fact-checking my understanding just for this stupid video. I'm just trying to get a video completed to break my own barriers, so go do your own research if you actually care. Anyways, a deeper, masculine-sounding voice is generally seen as undesirable for people who don't enjoy constantly being harassed based on their identity. So how does one feminize their voice with masculine hardware, so to speak? We have options, and none of them are hormone therapy. You either get surgery that turns your vocal bass strings into ukulele strings by cutting part of the strings out and putting the ends back together, or you commit yourself to the hardcore experience of vocal training. Frankly, I've heard results from vocal feminization surgery that just sounded unfortunate and raspy. Vocal training is quite PogChamp, if you can handle it. I need to convey to you just how much time, effort, and dedication one must exert towards vocal training to get any results. Anyone with excellent results who says it was easy certainly had an unspoken obsession, a visceral need to train their voice and achieve results. You almost need a pathological level of interest or obsession to make meaningful progress with vocal feminization. So, when I wanted to make videos, where was I on my voice training journey? Well, I watched a video or two talking about some vague concepts on how to feminize your voice by doing some thing with your throat or something. You know, trying to figure this thing out usually involves learning throat anatomy and voice training theory in tandem with doing a lot of silly sounding tricks, all until something makes sense to you. It's a real pain in the ass, and one can go a long time with dedicated effort and get no results. It's frustrating and discouraging. After giving 1 or 2 videos dedicated effort to understand and achieve what was being taught, I had made no progress. And yet, the call to make videos did not care to wait another year or 2. My time is now. I couldn't show my voice. Not like this. I'm a girl. That is the entire point of making any of these accounts under the name nyarubico. Where I grew up, girls don't sound like boys. The reality of my voice was crushing, but the need to create these videos was uplifting. My time is now. I will create videos without the voice. The video itself doesn't hold a candle to the quality of just about any video on the channel you're currently hearing me on. However, it was a start. More to the point, I believed it was a step above the quality of the contemporaneously popular Critical Strike channels, those mainly being SM2099OK and Chaox. The standards for Critical Strike videos were just lower back then. I knew I had the editing skills to do better. I wanted to show off all the interesting things that happened in my matches, while making funny edits and putting music I liked in the background. This philosophy has stuck even for my modern CS videos, although recently I drifted away from comedy in service of other things I'd like to express and share. To put it another way, if all I did was comedy, I wouldn't be making this video right now. Sniper's Journey got a few dozen views, just like the old days. I was used to this when making videos for my friends. Alright, I ought to explain why this channel got deleted. To all the nyarubico historians out there, I do not give a damn about most of the story right now, so I'm gonna skim over some stuff you might have really liked to know. Sorry, friend. So the second video I made was the hacker experience. This was back when Team Deathmatch was a thing. Yeah, all you who started with V5.7.5 never got to play Team Deathmatch in this game. So some guy was hacking on Santa, using no cooldown and probably healing on demand as well. I documented and conveyed my experiences of getting owned by this script kiddie to build up tension, before bringing cathartic defeat to this incompetent hacker, while armed with nothing but my sniper expertise. It was quite the high. After upload, the hacker experience quickly snowballed out of control. After 18 hours or so, it had 131 views. I had never seen that amount on a video of mine in such a short time. Maybe a week later, it had several hundred and maybe even 1,000 views and counting. Not to mention, Sniper's Journey was getting picked up by the algorithm too. I did not know what to think of this. So naturally I quit. Yeah, so that was that. Moving on with my life now. Oh, what? I can't stop thinking about this YouTube channel? I can't escape? This is the most significant thing to happen to me since the day I stopped feeling completely numb, and now I have nothing else to compare this feeling to? And so, my love-hate relationship with the old channel sprouted. I lived through a vicious cycle of creation, panic, and quitting. I tried to quit like 3 or 4 times. I don't even remember most of this time, to be honest. The stress of all of this was overwhelming to me. I felt so insecure about myself and identity. And damn, I couldn't even share my voice with another human being. This community shockingly wanted so much to do with me, and I couldn't even say hello except through text. I was really going through it. 7 or 8 months in, it's like spring or something. I was out of ideas. I needed to create a video to feel whole again. I needed to feel alive, to feel like I am worth something as a human being. To not create is to be stagnant, and not receive the praise that gives a worthless wretch like me self-worth. God, this just sounds horrific to write out. I was suffering pretty hard from loneliness and from being unable to express myself. So what was my solution? Use my voice anyway. The show must go on. So I did. I even embraced the idea of masculinity. I wanted people to like me after all, and I've seen enough SJW-owned cringe compilations to know my place in the community if I didn't conform to traditional expectations of gender. I would later look back on this decision as one of the worst mistakes of my life. And yet, do I regret it? No. I learned a lot from my experience presenting male again. I tried to convince myself this was okay, that my play with femininity was just a phase, and that I could just be a normal guy again. The next 2 or 3 months, I got unhinged, deranged, dissociative, just all kinds of messed up in the mind. I could barely live with myself. I was absolutely miserable, and I could only attempt to resolve this by continuing to feed into this false identity that was causing the misery in the first place by creating more voiced videos. Old heads may remember me touring my Minecraft cathedral while sharing my deranged musings on dissociating meaning from words, saying how I could be saying all of these words right now without knowing the meaning of any of them. It was a cry for help, one with no destination, no way out. What could one do but watch? I had a litany of obsessive-compulsive rituals I had to go through every time I entered my bedroom, every time I got off the computer, all sorts of stuff I'd do to try and condition my brain into switching modes between one thing and another. These psychological modes got increasingly segmented, to the point where I started to have different personalities talking in my head. They all had names. They'd all take over operation of my body, or in other words, be on stage, depending on the situation. I would simply watch my body operate on its own. It got so bad that the word I felt unfitting when describing the machinations of the system I found myself in. I experienced a lot of temporary amnesia, depending on the circumstances. I'd do lots of little rituals to try and convince myself of one thing or another, just to try and give myself a safe reprieve from the psychological hellscape I was enduring every day. It's genuinely one of the most messed up experiences I've ever been through, and I would not wish it on my worst enemy. If you're interested in learning more, look into dissociative disorders, most pertinently dissociative identity disorder, since what I've read on those seems to align quite well with my experiences. The severe dissociative symptoms and compartmentalization of this brain psyche seem to go back longer than I thought, but I literally can't think about it. I've been just passively watching my hands type on their own for a while now. It'd be best if we moved on from this topic. One day, after months of wishing for this channel to be done away with, I did it. The channel had about 450 subscribers at the time. I went to the settings page, went to the deletion option, and watched that radioactive waste dump of a channel get erased. I felt free. I was free. I'm free. I'm free. I'm free. I'm finally free. I'm done with this. I can move on. I can finally live my life again. I killed that monster of a channel. That fucker is dead. My old videos are now lost media. That same day, I deleted everything related to Critical Strike and video creation from my computer. I removed every single friend I had on Roblox and got the hell out of there. So what's next? I don't remember. I had about half a year of no memory whatsoever. I think that's when I was fairly active on the Chatot Uta alt account on Roblox. Not on Critical Strike though. I don't have access to those memories very easily right now. A lot of the dissociative compartmentalization of my memories is still in place and blocking me from reflecting on this. Anyways, this is besides the point. My life began again in September of 2021. I had been quietly learning more advanced music theory on piano than what I had learned in school. You know, chords and stuff mostly. I wanted to produce music. Producing music seemed a bit out of reach though, so instead I found a Minecraft server to play on. I had adopted a new username, Milky Holmes. I was ready to start fresh. This began one of the most productive months of my life. I would get on the Minecraft server and quietly work on the Holmes Tower. I wished to create a mega base that people on the server would marvel at. I mined a lot of stone and built stuff. It was a pretty elaborate build that I spent over 100 hours on. I even carved a really wide tunnel through a mountain because I needed a lot of stone and wanted the base to go through the mountain. During my time working on this building, I started to chat with the server members. I asked if there were any musicians in the server, and the answer was basically no. So I felt that if I wanted to impress people and find a place to belong, then maybe it's time to produce music. You are currently listening to music from the Milky Holmes SoundCloud page. I made almost all of it during the month I was playing on this server. The full-time lifestyle of building my base, producing music, and chatting with the server members gave my life meaning that I desperately needed. I felt like my humanity had been restored. However, I knew that I couldn't be accepted as a woman with my voice like it was. At this point, I started to take my voice training seriously. I put a lot of time and effort into getting over that severe learning curve at the start. As you get a better feel for how to make your vocal cords do this thing and that thing, learning becomes practice, and practice becomes mastery. I'm really grateful for the experiences I had on the Beyond Vanilla Minecraft server. It's no longer up, as the owner got a full-time programming job, and nobody wanted to host his little plugin coding hobby project of a server. Shout out to Zani if they're watching this. I have not forgotten you. I stopped playing in October 2021 at some point, but I did not stop with my vocal training. I started talking to myself a lot to practice my voice. I'd record, critique, study, and improve with my voice a lot. Hearing my voice sounding more and more feminine was really validating and gave me a level of comfort and security with myself that I really needed. This is where I realized that I really needed this gender transition in my life. I had once heard that if you wish to improve your self-image, make yourself good company. As in, you should be content alone with yourself. Like, you like yourself. This gender transition gave me that self-contentment for the first time since I was 10 years old or so. Although I won't get into what happened back then right now. Now I was starting to become more or less happy. The year is now 2022. Back in 2020 and 2021, I did occasionally talk on Discord with my friend Oku. He specifically wanted to add me on Discord, so I made an account for that purpose. We were good friends. I think I sometimes talked to other people on Discord during the old channel days, like shotis for example, but I can't remember. After I deleted the channel, I peaced out from Discord as well. During the Beyond Vanilla arc, I used Discord briefly, then phased it out of my habits when I stopped playing on the server. From October 2021 to April 2022, I was not using Discord. It's February 2022. I got a new CPU for my computer. Thanks, Mom. I could now run Critical Strike at 60 frames per second. How exciting is that? I became obsessed with Critical Strike. I played so much of that game. I think I got 1,000 or 2,000 sniper wins in the span of a month or two. Hell, I could come back now and make videos. I mean, I've been training my voice and I'm feeling cute about it. Somewhere in the mix, shotis started emailing me. I think we ran into each other in-game a couple weeks before my first video, or something. See, shotis and I had a history of communicating via email for some reason I can't remember. So anyways, shotis is excited to see me back. You see, when he was getting into making Critical Strike videos, he was absolutely fawning over every video I made on my old channel. And I was flattered by the 2,000 or 4,000 subscribers he had at the time. After I disappeared for a year and then showed up out of nowhere, he was naturally interested in chatting. He wanted to get me on Discord again, but I refused to use it. I just had a lot of bad memories with the app, that's all. After some emails back and forth, he pops an intriguing question. Would you be interested in doing an interview for my channel? I had long fantasized about this moment. I always wanted to be interviewed for doing something cool. I don't know why I had this specific fantasy, but oftentimes when I needed to think about nice things, I would do a pretend interview and ramble on, answering interview questions out loud while pacing back and forth in my room. It was great fun and good practice for my vocal training too. Shotis had asked me if I was interested in fulfilling what happened to be one of my biggest fantasies. Sign me up. The interview video currently exists on his channel, but I've never watched it. Okay, I know that is very out of pocket, but the last thing I wanted to do is listen to someone else's interpretation of my at the time deranged writing style. You see, my deranged stylings translated quite nicely into a medium as abstract and unfamiliar to us as video editing, but not so easily in something as deeply understood, critiqued, and conventionalized by the average person as speech is. In other words, I feel that I posted cringe, and I don't want to listen to it. I'm sure plenty of people enjoyed the interview, but my childhood experiences getting constantly made fun of and bullied for literal years over random little things I said one time, this made me not want to listen. So yeah, the interview happened a little after I published a video of my findings of this sniper tech where you can fling yourself across the map. With that said, we are finally done with the prelude to explaining what exactly I was expressing in Life Flashes Before Musketeer Eyes. I'm serious. What was that? At least 6,000 words just to explain this one video, right? I really needed to tell my whole goddamn life story. I'm so sorry. I considered keeping the person who inspired this video a secret. I don't think we've ever talked publicly about our involvement with each other in the past. I'm talking about Ian, Winterism, Schlafwandel, among other aliases. I think respecting his privacy is somewhat important, but I won't share too much dirt about him today that's going to harm his reputation more than he already has himself. Winterism is the most infamous individual to ever be involved with the Criticality team. That is, the Critical Strike remake we play today, and arguably the second most infamous of the original dev team, second only to Epic Critical. Listen, I'm not going to get into Critical Strike developer drama in this video. It's really not my place. I'm just going to explain the aspects that are relevant to the creation of this video. If you are more interested in Winterism than what I tell you, then take your searches elsewhere. I did not get on Discord for Shotis' interview. The interview was Shotis reading out the email I sent, or something. I don't know, I still don't want to watch it. I went to bed a bit after the interview went live. I woke up to find I had a Roblox friend request from somebody I recognized as a developer of something, the game that was set to become Criticality, which we now know is the official continuation of Critical Strike. The developer in question was Winterism. I accepted the friend request. We soon had a conversation via Roblox website chat about how Winter and JCM had supposedly discovered the sniper tech I had claimed as my own years before I did, and that Winter wanted to challenge me to a sniper duel. I accepted. I tried to warm up and get ready, but it wasn't meant to be. That said, I performed right around my normal performance level in game. I really couldn't have done much better. Winter and I played like 20 matches or so, and I won maybe 20% of them. I had over 3,000 wins on Sniper at this point. I was basically untouchable to most players. And this guy comes out of nowhere and wipes the floor with me on the class I've been obsessively honing ever since I got 60 frames per second. I didn't know peaks this high existed. People can be this good at Sniper? He was hitting just about every headshot. He even said that at this point for him, headshots are easier than body shots. Haters will say this is what a cheater would say, and that headshots are so easy to hit because of aim assist cheats aiming for the head and only missing because Sniper's F is not hit scan. I will not have any of this witch hunting. It's not that I think he was or wasn't cheating. Any unbiased logician sees that obviously we don't have enough data to conclude anything on the matter. Rather, I chose to judge the situation based on what I wanted to be real. I wanted Winter to be this much better than me on Sniper. I had risen so high above the average player, and I wanted to find new heights to achieve. So, in my opinion, Winter was not using any cheats when facing off against me. Let's flip the script for a moment. If I must believe Winter was cheating, what does that say about me as a person? That I'm unwilling to trust others? That I can't believe that a human being can be this good, and therefore that the heights I'm observing are beyond my means to reach? Nonsense. Trust is so important for healthy relationships. I know I sure as hell did not trust anybody growing up. I wanted to provide the trust that was absent in my childhood. Through my thoughts and actions, I wanted to shape the world around me in the image of my own ideals. And to say that I can't be as good as Winterism, I came here to improve. And I'm not going to start making excuses that are just another way of saying I've peaked as a player. I'm not done. My time is now. I lost a lot to Winter, but you know, I got a few rounds off him too. This is one of the most skilled and experienced players in the history of Critical Strike. Did you know this guy has been on and off as a developer for the official project since Critical Strike 2? That's a long time to be playing this game. At this point, I'd only played for a bit under 2 years. I had a long way to go, I felt. So you see, I made a wager with Winter. If I win more matches, then the team will finally add a green screen room to criticality. After all, I had a video project in the works that was a lot easier with a green screen. If I lost more matches, then I had to join the Discord server and talk about how great red screens are instead. Plain ridiculous, I know, but I did lose. I joined the Criticality Discord and talked about how great red screens are, and the message got pinned to the general chat. This was the first time I was on Discord in a while. It had been over a year since I did anything involving Critical Strike on Discord. I decided to use Discord more because I was fascinated with this person who was so much better at my favorite class than I was. What can I learn from him? I thought. Opening Discord at all was a really big step for me, and having a reason to be there was an even bigger one. I was going hard with the voice training more than ever. I felt about ready to start speaking. Winter and I started to spend more and more time together. He would flirt fairly often, although I think it was just an expression of juvenile machismo rather than an earnest attempt at courtship. However, I took the flirting in earnest and humored him. Hold on a minute, am I falling in love? Eventually I got into a call with him and spoke for the first time. I had made a lot of progress on my voice since the last time I spoke in the Critical Strike community. As I came to find out, Winter found my voice to be cute, and I found that to be really gratifying. To put it in a sentence, romance soon blossomed between us. I really cared about him for many reasons. There was the initial fascination I had with his skill at sniper, but I also liked his playful sense of humor. Talking to him was always nice, since he's more of an intellectual type once you get to know him. One time we were having a bit of trouble understanding each other's words, and he said, "Do you really want to be arguing over semantics right now?" To which I responded, "It's not about the semantics or the proper way to phrase things. It's about understanding the message we're trying to convey to each other." There were some other instances of him saying something rude or hostile, to which I would respond with a demure, innocent response. This seemed to quickly diffuse his aggression, as if he got worked up just to realize he had nothing to worry about. One day I asked him what he liked about me, and he told me that I'm nice to him, and that doesn't really happen in the Critical Strike community. This moment is a core memory for how I view Winterism as a person, a lens through which I view all the brutal things he's done to other people. He's done some truly awful things, and yet underneath all of that is someone who just craved kindness and acceptance. I think back on this time often, and realize how avoidable a lot of conflict in this community could have been with a bit of compassion and humility from everyone. There has been a lot of tragedy I've witnessed in this community that I will not cover in this video, as these are not my stories to tell. It's regrettable that just a bit of empathy could have avoided so much of this. Winter and I fell in love. We said, "I love you," before leaving the call and before bed and everything. You know, there are material benefits to being this close to one of the two guys doing the programming for this game. For example, I discovered a bug with Musketeer where the F bullets would not pierce dummies. With a bit of back and forth for clarity, Winter got this fixed quickly. For reference, at this point in time, Winter and JCM were hard at work getting the game classes working. To my understanding, they basically ripped a bunch of machine code from the Roblox client while playing 575, and used a decompiler tool to make this code back into proper Roblox Lua scripts. Decompilation is a lot of cleanup work afterwards, having to fill in data that was written in the original script but omitted by the compiler. But it's a hell of a lot easier than writing all 70 plus classes from scratch. I've never decompiled anything in my life, so take my word with a grain of salt. Anyways, another benefit is that Winter added me to the testing server, which JCM then deleted from existence because he didn't want a testing server for some reason. Shout out to JCM for consistently being the most unlikable person I've ever met. This one instance is just paltry, a mere drop in the bucket when it comes to the presently unspoken complaints I have about him. Anyways, this video is not about JCM. I obviously didn't do this for the material benefits. I didn't expect anything of the sort. I was so deeply invested in this relationship because it validated my identity as a woman. Validation I so dearly needed. I felt like I had finally made it in life, that I could finally be happy with myself. My romance with Winterism only lasted about a month or two. I talked about the breakup at the start of this essay, but basically he got busy with life and didn't have time to spend with me, and then would proceed to spend lots of time in voice chats with groups of random people. You know, I should elaborate on something. For a long time, I was uncomfortable joining group Discord calls. I was still insecure about my voice. Nowadays, I feel a lot better about the progress I've made with my vocal training, but that's not the whole point. I knew plenty of people in the Critical Strike community saw the videos from the old channel. I didn't want to join a call just to have some guy be like, "Hey, aren't you a man?" I had to live in the shadow of that possibility for a long time. I really did not want to experience that. It was my primary source of stress at this point, but at least it kept me working on my voice. So Winter never got to have me in any group calls. That's just how it was. I got him to hang out with me once during this decline. We played some Critical Strike fan game. He was aloof the whole time, and after like 45 minutes he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go." That was a crushing blow. I felt like I was losing part of myself. I spent a lot of time typing long messages to Winter and then waiting around for him to come online and maybe, just maybe, respond. I decided to kill that time by making a new video. The name of this video is Life Flashes Before Musketeer Eyes. This was my first video I made on criticality. Since all the classes were ported in now, we can finally talk about the video itself. The video was originally going to use the song Life Flashes Before Lieb Eyes by Billy Moto as the music track. However, I felt for multiple reasons it didn't fit. I instead opted for Something Is Lost by Kochitskoria. I felt the song represented how I felt in a way that would fit with the editing stylings I craved to imprint this video with. I made this video because I wanted to convey something raw and real. I wanted to express how I felt in a way that other people could feel and understand. Listen, I could analyze the video, but I've been writing the script for so long that the clock already reads my wake-up time. I was never meant to spend over 12,000 words talking about the things I express in my videos. I guess I had a lot to get off my chest. I'll give it an honest try though. What was I expressing through the video? The melancholy, the images of loss, and notably the buildup of life and portrayal of death the video centers around? They were all meant to be gentle metaphor through which to express my emotions. I felt like I was losing my sense of identity without Winter. I came to rely on him too much. He made me feel like my identity was worth respecting. I didn't even get to experience that in the 18 years before I started exploring my gender identity. I didn't have much of an identity, really, besides a desperate clawing for acceptance and a need to sacrifice all I am to achieve it. After pursuing a self I could feel ownership of with my gender transition, that desperate clawing became a graceful ritual of self-discipline and the honing of skill. In almost an ascetic manner, I would focus on self-improvement, and social improvement would logically follow. My time with Winter represented the social improvement, the reward, the gratification, the purpose and meaning of all this hard work. My end goal. I got comfortable, complacent, and now this part of me that I developed, this comfort, was being lost. This sense of validity in my identity was supported so heavily by someone who was quietly fading from my life. I needed to express the profound grief I was experiencing in a form that could capture that feeling, and so I did. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me and to understand this experience of mine. I want to take a breather for a moment. How are you doing? Take a break if you need one. After explaining all of that, I got some sleep. A good 5 hours or so. And for today, that will have to do. I spent some time doing other things for a bit. I'm feeling alright. Thinking about painful memories can be distressing to me. I do it because I want to understand my pain, accept it, and reclaim the parts of myself and of my life that I've lost to fear and avoidance. The fact is that I can't truly avoid these memories, even if I try. I want to be at peace and at harmony with myself. Anyways, I did promise to explain 3 videos here. The tilting experience is a sequel to Life Flashes Before Musketeer Eyes. If Musketeer Eyes is the moon, then the tilting experience is the sun. Musketeer Eyes is about love, with the pain and grief it entails, both of playing my favorite class Musketeer and of my experiences with romance. The tilting experience is about embracing the reality around you and shining brightly within it. Musketeer Eyes is a melancholic tale of a gentle, spiritual death, while the tilting experience is a tale of growth, moxie, and passion. Most importantly, Life Flashes Before Musketeer Eyes is a story about the pain that reflecting on the past brings us. The tilting experience is about looking at what's in front of you and embracing the troubles of the present with everything you've got. I think you understand the point. The tilting experience was released 3.5 weeks after Life Flashes Before Musketeer Eyes. The video opens by treating Musketeer eyes like a gentle dream or a faded memory, rewinding from those last moments to find myself in the exact position I once was all those weeks ago. I'm back here again, but I'm ready to do things differently. Regarding the video's message, I have to address the elephant in the room. How do I say this? I can't really tap into my childhood experiences or personal problems so easily with this video. It's the video I've received the most praise for by people in DMs or in-game. It seems to be well liked by the community. I even liked the video. I just rewatched it, and I had my hands clenched together for most of the runtime. There is a lot of white-knuckle action depicted. There's some sort of thrill to playing Musketeer against, well, most other classes. It feels like a dance at knife's edge. Musketeer, and especially Old Musket, demands so much more precision and strategy of the player than of any other class I can think of. Every battle is a thrill. Musketeer is so vulnerable in its old state. It starts out as a class for masochists, and ends up as a class for those who wish to glamorously walk the tightrope. What is being expressed in this video? It's nothing from my early childhood. I guess you could say it's an expression of that desire to be good at what I do, mostly from my teenage years. It's a good video with good gameplay. What more could you want? Well, what more could I want? Something about this question makes my emotions quiet down and my body go cold. What? What more? These so-called words just seem like a string of phonemes and delirium to me. What the fuck am I even talking about? I clench my knuckles at action for 11 minutes and then sit here to write about it. Critically, I don't have anything to say about this video right now. Do I even identify with the brightly burning girl in the video? It's not that same sense of depersonalization from before. I just feel confused and aloof. It's kind of like reading a textbook on a subject I don't really understand. Brightly burning girl? Where do I even draw this interpretation from? I'm sure plenty of people in the Critical Strike community would beg to differ on that interpretation, either from the perceived mediocrity of the gameplay, or a hatefully flippant comment on the gender identity of the depicted individual. Who am I to determine any of this? Who am I to define and enforce this artistic narrative upon those who have watched this video? The past is a faded memory, and the present is a haze of uncertainty. I feel like my identity has become a smudge, a mark of ash where some unknowable pre-ash artifact once burned, maybe a newspaper or a note or tobacco or some shit. Who am I? Am I this video? Am I the supposed highest echelon I rose to in this community? People loved this video and I got much praise for it. Is this zenith of my public image where I should anchor my sense of self, my values, my identity? Shall I embrace this celebrity apotheosis endemic to the American culture I was raised upon, all based upon the one time I did a thing people liked in a Lego game video on the internet? Why the fuck am I even making these videos? Why am I uploading them to the internet? To preserve myself in video form? To market and mass ship myself as some RGB homunculus on your monitor? I haven't even shown you my face, and in the subject video, you hadn't even heard my voice. And yet, I feel as if the deepest parts of myself are on display, for sale, commodified in exchange for a fleeting sense of self-worth. To what end do I bury away the pain of the past, lather myself in gasoline, and burn brightly for the spectacle? Who the hell even am I anymore? I've written over 13,000 words in this essay, and for what? To express what once went unexpressed? To make heard and understood what went unspoken for years? I won't give myself any illusions that of the select few who watch this video this far, any of them will be able to cast illusions into my mind of understanding, empathy, compassion, or whatever trite, hackneyed psychological MacGuffins I have deluded myself into pursuing to make this feeling stop. What feeling? I don't even know what I'm feeling anymore. Is this what I expressed in the video? No, I expressed little in that video. I allowed the events of the gameplay to play out, and I shaped them in a way that matched with my ideals as a creator. I expressed my ideals on Roblox filmmaking and little else. This concludes our 3-video review. To recap what was expressed in each video, Villain was about following one's natural calling, juxtaposed with the depersonalization that results from the kind of bullying and emotional abuse that mirrors childhood trauma of chronic abuse. Life Flashes Before Musketeer Eyes was about the grief of losing a part of one's life that gave meaning to the present, one devoid of those lifelong traumatic forces of the past. The Tilting Experience was about Roblox filmmaking ideals and little else. I feel sad giving the Tilting Experience such a short summary, since it's the big video that a lot of CS players remember me by. But the thing about grief is that it never truly ends, and yet we must continue living. Have I moved on from the struggles of the past? I can convince myself I have in the moment, but they will never leave me, for better or worse. I feel like coming to terms with something is to peacefully allow yourself to stop thinking about it for a while. The Tilting Experience is a reflection of that coming to terms, of that moving on. In this case, the deep roots behind each video are willfully ignored. The memories are stashed away for now. Consequently, the Tilting Experience has little to say about me as a person. Anyways, the file I'm currently writing this script within is called Life Update 1. The purpose of this project was to reflect the current state of my life and of my psyche. I feel really weird doing that now, because while writing earlier, I was vividly reliving this headspace of a past, heavily damaged version of me. Nowadays, I'm doing more or less okay, although I feel like the guardrails surrounding what I can think about and do are overly restrictive to a point of being a poison to me. I haven't experienced any of the dissociative identity disorder type symptoms in a year or two, I think. There are no alters to speak in my head or take over my body or anything like that. I've mostly managed to reconcile every part of my life into something I can personally handle. I don't know, I've been playing Fallout New Vegas a lot over the past week. It's pretty fun. For a week or two before that, I played a lot of Vampire Survivors. It's just video games, you know. I've been in a pretty serious romantic relationship for about 4 months at this point. My partner brings me a lot of happiness and gives a lot of meaning to my life, while allowing me to more easily explore parts of my personality that I didn't really get to explore before. My current issue with this romantic relationship is that I got used to it. I think I want to spend the rest of my life with this person, but they aren't going to be my whole life like I've made them lately. I mean to say that I gave them my undivided attention for 4 months or so, but now I have this need for more meaning in my life. In other words, I got bored of living a simple lifestyle. As I detailed earlier, I grew up either feeling pretty miserable or distracting myself from that feeling. My bipolar father's chaotic whims left me with this debilitating persecution complex, and now I am particularly sensitive to people with any sort of influence over me doing the wrong thing. I get so sensitive to every tiny thing that is off. Like, I feel like the fucking critic from Ratatouille, which is a rich claim coming from me because I remember like 7 frames of that movie. My simple, safe lifestyle is only sweet on its face, because as I mentioned earlier, every quiet moment of every day is filled with vivid visions of authority figures persecuting me for one reason or another. It's easy to project transgender social issues onto this feeling, like the institutional barriers surrounding legal documents, or social barriers concerning widespread conservative bigotry. I don't feel safe leaving the house. But is that because of my gender identity, or is that because of the trauma that generally informs my perspective on the world? Being trans, I now have a scapegoat that scores high in terms of pathos. But even before I explored my identity, I always have and always will be keenly aware of the myriad flaws and weaknesses I have, some of which have historically been used against me by others. Right now, while typing this, I have this visceral feeling of slowly sliding backwards through a tear in a safety net. For my whole life, I've lived in fear of the things people have been inclined to do to me in the past and in the future. Critical Strike may have changed my life, but my deepest problems will remain with me forever. Lately, the voices of the Critical Strike community are all static to me unless they happen to align with my existing weaknesses and trauma. All harmful comments are harmful gratuitously, a cheap shot earned by a complete coincidence with my existing wounds. The praise feels kind of nice sometimes, especially when it serves to numb my painful insecurities. But these words just sound like static most of the time. I intended to end this essay on a good note, but the more I look into myself, the more I become immersed in the troubles that formed who I am today. There just isn't much else of substance in there right now. Every Critical Strike veteran willingly chooses to play this game that focuses on, necessitates, glorifies conflict. Perhaps for the more masculine player, you may wish to fulfill a sense of domination over others. But what good is domination if not to prove something to yourself? Everyone in the Critical Strike community has a unique story to be told, but we all come here for the same experience, don't we? I've told my flowery and thorny story, but at the center of all our actions is the fulfillment of our wants and needs, basic human drives. Every want and need we must fulfill, or in this case, every desired truth we may wish to prove to ourselves, can be traced back to these elementary components of human behavior, for me and for you. We both stayed here through it all because somewhere deep within us, we crave fighting, don't we? Are you and I really so different after all?